on, everybody? Welcome to the Lions Den with Seth. If you haven't done so already, hit the share button. We'll be right back. This is going to be a super duper dope show. Let's get it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lions Den. Hopefully everything is good with you. I already asked you, make sure you hit the share button, y'all. This is where we get it in as gentlemen, as lions, as kings, right? To talk about everything leadership, growth, and development and action, right? Stop talking about that junk and get outside there and make it happen. Big Nate, man, what's popping, man? How you feel?
Man, I'm doing well. How you brothers doing?
Man, slow motion, man. Slow motion, man. Hey, so look, ladies and gentlemen, this weather out here is getting kind of janky, so bear with us. I don't know what happened. There's like a whole cloud of just craziness. So, I think we're gonna get it good. So how was your weekend, man?
It was good. Just relaxing, just that's pretty much it. How about yours?
Hold on. First of all, what we're not going to just do is just breeze through the fact that my man's, right? Not only my man's, but ladies and gentlemen, this brother right here has been nominated as the AMC Size John nominee, y'all. Yes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Bruh. So, I mean, how you feel, man? What is it just like work? What's that? How you feel?
I feel great, man. I'm very fortunate, and it's timing, timing just so happen to be right. So I'm very fortunate.
Outstanding, man. Well, listen, let you know that we all are proud of you, man. Keep doing that.
Appreciate you, brothers.
Keep doing it. Yo, Larry, what's popping, man?
Hey, man, besides this crazy weather today, it's been a good weekend, man. I've been resting. The last 4 weekends been crazy, so I ain't do nothing this weekend, and I'm proud of it.
You ain't
nothing. I've been relaxing, cleaning up my house, and just getting prepared for the show, and just this crazy week that's about to happen with this whole enlisted grade allocation thing going on across the command. It's finna get hectic, man. So that's why I made sure this weekend was quiet.
Yeah. I can dig it, man. That's how I do. That's what it's about. Well, look, y'all, this weekend I had the opportunity, y'all, to hit up Dallas, man, for the podcast movement, bro. It's the largest podcast networking event in the United States, bro. Had the great opportunity not only to connect with some outstanding individuals and some, just content creators, executives, and all that, but I also had the privilege of meeting this young lady that we're going to be on with, y'all. So we need to caveat some things, right? Go ahead, Larry. I'll let you talk about it first, as far as this family secrets.
Absolutely. So typically, if I were to ask you when you hear something called family secrets, what comes to mind? Most people would think sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, things of that nature. But, family secrets is more than just that particular subject. It can be a variety of things, such as, adopt a kid in the family and we don't tell them that they're adopted until they're 18. It could be family secrets with addictions and things of that nature. It can be family secrets where the dad may like to wear women's drawers and the spouse knows, but the kids don't.
Hold on. Listen,
I'm serious.
Look, before you say that, let's make this clear. Y'all, ladies and gentlemen, Larry found this mess, okay? Different family
common types, yeah.
And so now, what is it that the family found out?
So the kids, as they get older, they start seeing things, and I don't know, maybe they saw him going into the refrigerator or bending over and picking up something, and saw that he was wearing female drawers.
It was
so I'm saying it was So and that was his thing. That the spouse understood it, and she didn't tell the kids, but at some point they figured it out, and they don't talk about it, but they like, hey, dad likes to wear women's underwear.
Right.
So I just want to paint the picture that when you think about family secrets, it's not just Uncle Joe like to touch on little cousins and nieces and all that stuff. Family secrets can be just about anything. It's just about everything under the sun, the things that we don't talk about within the family, but folks are aware of or may not be aware of.
And so you're absolutely right. And with that, to that point, essentially family secrets are things that the family refuse to tell individuals for whatever reason. But the thing is that it can be harmful as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have this conversation on not just what family secrets are, but what can it do? All right. First of all, yo, Nate, man, what you think about family secrets, bro?
Family secrets is one of those things that can either beneficial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's pros and cons to everything, or it can definitely damage, the household. And so I think it's imperative that, everyone has that steady balance. There's a time and place for everything. We talked about this earlier. The timing just has to be right. And, as we're talking about these things, it's best to bring people, into the loop of what's going on, because people want to know. So I think it's a time and place when to have that conversation, and it's definitely needed. So
yeah, no, I feel you. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. This is my warm privilege, y'all, to bring in Miss Sabrena Ford. Just so y'all a little bit about her, right? She's super dope. All right. She is the founder of the Women's with Purpose Tour, right? She's a photographer and all that. Super dope individual down there in the great state of Texas, but Dallas to be exact, y'all. She's super dope and just a very warm spirit. Y'all give it up for Miss Sabrena. Hey. So what's going on, ma'am? How you doing? What's going on, Miss Annette, and everybody out there? I see y'all watching. Y'all let us know where y'all at right now, tuning in. So what's going on, ma'am?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? Thank y'all for having me.
No doubt. And listen, thank you too for the connection, right? For the business meeting, all of that. We got some things that's going to be popping, right? Cannot wait. Well, look, just introduce yourself to the Lions Den and to our audience. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do down there.
Well, I'm Sabrena Ford. Like you said, I'm the founder of the Women with Purpose Tour. It's an empowerment tour for women entrepreneurs. So we help them grow and scale their businesses. I'm also a podcast host. My podcast is called Hidden Images Podcast. And I make it a mission to interview African-American and Hispanic entrepreneurs. I'm also a photographer, a boudoir photographer to be specific. That's what I'm growing my niche in. And I'm also, I like to consider myself a boudoir model as well. So I got my hands in a number of things. I help out clients with social media management, videography, photography, anything you name it that just helps build brand awareness for small business owners.
Right. So now you know what the first question is about to be, right? Did you say bourgeois? Boudoir?
Boudoir.
Go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of knowledge on some folks and help me out.
It's the risque type photo shoots where women or men in lingerie or men attire, and I do couples boudoir sessions as well. But typically, a new bride might take those type of photos for her future husband. So those are the typical clients you get with boudoir.
Right on. Okay, cool. So Miss Sabrena, I'm free. Go ahead, Nate. You got the first question, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, as I think about this, right, and thank you for your background, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We're here to talk about, family secrets, right? Mm-hmm. And we're just going to go ahead and just dive right into it. Family secrets. Do you feel, right, that there are pros to having family secrets, or it's both pros and cons? And then if you have any examples that you wish to share, please elaborate on that.
I can't think of any pro about any type of family secret that involves other people. Definitely anything that you're harboring that involves someone else that could potentially harm them if they find out in the future. Definitely that's something that should be discussed, and I think that being a Black woman in the Black community, we harbor too many secrets inside of our families. And I think that it's just time to start telling people not to be afraid to use their voice, to step up and reveal secrets that they may not want to be revealed. And so you asked, about anything that I may have gone through. And that is something that I experienced is that, so when I was 12, my grandfather, he tried to approach me and kiss me in my mouth. And I knew that it wasn't right. And so the next day I told my aunt. And after I told my aunt, the big family secret came out that he had done some things to my mom, my aunt, I think all of my aunts. I don't even know the full story because even after it came out, there was still more secrets being harbored because nobody wanted to talk about it still. And we found out that he had done something to my sister as well, as far as like physically touching her. And so the family secret just came out. And from there, it was just like, what did I do? I feel like I broke up my family, even though I did the right thing. And I would tell anybody, no matter what age, speak up. If you feel like somebody has touched you, violated you in any type of way, speak up. And just like you gentlemen said, those aren't the only secrets that are being harbored in, different types of families. That's just happened to be in my family.
Mm. Wow. Well, look, thank you for that. Go ahead, Larry.
Miss Sabrena, thanks for sharing that. And, I don't want to dive in too deep into it, but I just want to know, so if that happened to previous family members outside of you, it sounds like it's a generational thing.
Yep.
Can you go into, or maybe, once you guys got past the, hey, this is what granddad was doing, how was the family reacting as to why nobody actually shared this as it happened, the first time, the second time, the third time before it got all the way to you? Can we talk about why is it in our community we kind of just, brush that under the rug versus actually addressing it?
That's a question I'm still trying to answer myself, because even as an adult, I tried asking certain family members, even my mom, like if you knew that this happened to you, even if you didn't know it happened to your sisters, why would you bring us around him at all for that to potentially happen again? And she honestly just couldn't answer the question. I couldn't even tell you her answer. So I just feel like there's still, to this day, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to discuss what happened. And it's like, he's not here anymore. And when he was here, it was still this protection for him that nobody wanted to discuss it or speak anything bad on him. But the truth is out there. If you research it, you can see, clearly he was arrested for that particular crime. And to this day, it's like nobody wants to talk about it. It's almost like we're adults now, so get over it, And I think that's the most hurtful part about it, trying to grow into an adult or growing into an adult and wanting to discuss the pain and wanting to discuss the trauma, but nobody wants to deal with it.
When you say no one wants to deal with it, is that because it's reliving the moment? Is it embedded? Is it what would be that reason why?
For my mom, it's just like, she just doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't. And I've even tried to talk about it, to one of my aunts, and she just kind of brushes it off. She'll skip over the subject and we end up talking about something else. There's still, it's like, I don't know. There's still secrets. I don't know. And even when that happened around 1999. And right after that, one of my uncles, who we all grew up as a tight-knit family, but one of my uncles, right after that happened, he disappeared and we never heard from him again. Even to this day, we don't know where he is. So we were thinking like, well, did he know what was going on, or did something happen to him and maybe he's too embarrassed because he's a man and that's why he didn't want to say anything? Did something happen to the men in the family because none of the men said anything happened to them, but why did he disappear?
You know what? First of all, I appreciate you right? Again, sharing this. And
Yeah.
let's be honest, everybody,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, family, this is things that we act like is not real. And you know what it is. And again, like we were saying earlier, it can be anything. For example, there's family members out there that low key don't know their uncle is really their daddy and their daddy is really their uncle, right? So they got a dunkle. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to have those type of conversations. But my question is for you, when you told your mother, what did she say?
See, the thing is, the relationship between my mom and I were kind of strained. I couldn't even tell her. I told my aunt. And so that wasn't the first time something like that happened to me. When I was around 8 years old, I spent the night at one of my babysitters' home, and her father came in drunk one night, and I was laying on her couch, and her father laid beside me on the floor, pulled me off the couch, and made me touch him. So as soon as daylight came, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm 8 years old. I'm running home. I tell my mom, I tell the babysitter what happens. I tell the babysitter what happens. She literally slaps me silly. Like, you're a liar. That didn't happen to you. And it happened to me. My mom, she didn't really take it seriously. So that's why when that happened when I was 12, I didn't trust my mom to tell her. So that's why I told my aunt, because my aunt, she's a fierce woman. Like, I knew which aunt to go to. I knew which aunt to, she's a fighter. So, I told her, and then from there it was like action happened. And that's when everything just came out.
What did that do for you moving forward? I mean, it's unfortunate this occurred at a young age for you. What was your trust like moving forward as you continue your adolescent years into your adult years? Did you still suffer, from that? How were you able to bounce back? How were you track, in me and trust for and understand? How were you able to capitalize off of that and show that resiliency?
It was hard, at 12 years old, when you tell something that is right, that any 12-year-old should tell if that happens to them, whether it's a boy or a girl, happening from a man or a woman. It was hard. After that, that's when my family kind of broke up. My grandfather, of course, had to leave the home. My grandmother was in the home by herself. Like I said, my uncle disappeared after that. I felt like I broke up my family. And I was devastated as a teenager. I felt like I was always the outcast, because I always was the type of person to speak up for myself. That's why when it happened, I spoke up, But I always felt like, dang, I broke up my family, but I did the right thing. I always had to reassure myself, I did the right thing, though. I did the right thing. And even to this day, I still have to tell myself I did the right thing, even though for a long time it's like, dang, I broke up my family. What did I do? But I was an angry teenager. I think that was part of the problem. I lost a lot of trust issues because after it happened, I was thinking like, what don't I remember? I really just started to really think like, if I remember that, what don't I remember when I was even younger girl being around him? I trusted my grandfather. I looked up to him. I loved him. He used to take us fishing. I mean, we feed the chickens, the pigs. Like, we had a healthy relationship. So I thought, but it was heartbreaking, just to see my family just separate right after that happened. And then, being 12 years old, thinking that I'm the cause of it, and then constantly just having to reassure myself, you did the right thing. You were supposed to tell. That's what any 12-year-old should do.
And I'm sorry, brothers, I just got to add on to that, if you don't mind. When did you find in yourself that you no longer blamed yourself for that?
You know what? Honestly, if I'm 100% honest with you guys, and I don't know if this will ever happen, but until we decide to sit down as a family and really talk about it, I don't know if I'll ever feel like, I didn't break up my family, because none of us really have sat down and really just talked about it. And I do remember, you know, them having like a meeting or something about it. You know, I vaguely remember it, a couple of my aunts and my mom. But as far as me and my sister, you know, because my sister went through it too. And even like, I love you, sis, but even I feel like she's a little brainwashed into throwing it away. She
Mm.
doesn't want to talk about it either. And it happened to her as well.
So listen, Nate has been asking these questions that's been on our minds, right? So I know that Larry got a question. So now in his mind, he got to think. But the deal is damn, we go through life as though sometimes, right? There's certain families that say, well, you know, that's just how he is, or that's just how she is. No, this is traumatizing. You get what I mean? Because now you have some individuals, let's be honest, we have some individuals that question, right, their own sexuality because of what has happened to them. The thing is, the misconception is, okay, it might have felt good, but I know it wasn't right. You get what I'm saying? So am I this way, or am I, you know what I mean? Or was I a target? So my question to you is, did you feel as though you did something? Like, did you feel guilty, not just for breaking up the family? Do you feel as though you did something when you were younger or even growing up that you were the problem? And if you did you stop that? What I mean by that is, you did something to attract him to do that because you were too young to understand mental illness, right? So did you ever in your mind say, you know what, maybe I should not dress a certain way to provoke men, or maybe I shouldn't do, maybe that's what happened? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
No, that never crossed my mind. Nothing like that. That I never blamed myself for what he did. It was always me feeling like, well, me just speaking my voice. Like I have never been afraid to push back, speak up, speak out against anything. I'm really big on anti-bullying and all that type of stuff. So, even as a child, I always had a voice. And, with him doing that, I really don't know what his thought process was, but he should have known I was going to say something because I've always had a voice, So no, there was never anything in my mind that I felt like, I did something or I dressed a certain way. I've really never been that type of provocative person back then. Yeah, I'm an adult now, so
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So here's my question for you, man. So during the day or during my morning routine, I typically listen to motivational videos as I'm getting dressed and starting my day. And the common theme that I hear in some of these speakers is, we all go through things. We've all been through things. Some of us have been the victims of things, right? But the key part is not just what has happened to me, but it's how do I recover after it's happened? And how do I own that piece of it to where it doesn't torment me through the rest of my life? And so my question to you is, have you forgiven your grandfather, first off? And then how has that, once you've forgiven him, how has that helped you as you go through your life? Taking the onus off you and being the blame of breaking up your family and all that stuff. And you're just like, I did the right thing. It is what it is, and I just press on and move on with my life so that this doesn't daunt me the rest of it.
You know what? No, I haven't forgiven him, and he's transitioned on now. And I still haven't said that out loud. I haven't prayed on it. I haven't forgiven him for it. And I know you forgive and forget is supposed to be, what you're supposed to do. But right now, it's just like a lot of these childhood traumas have come into my adulthood life. And so it's like, I'm trying to talk about it with my family so that I can forgive, because I still want to know and I still want to understand a lot of things that happen. I like, where's my uncle? Where's your brother? Where's your, like, where is he? Like, what happened? There's just so much more to it. And I wish that we could just come together and finally just help each other heal. If this happened, and it's time for us to talk about it. It's time for us to sit down and really just hear each other out and understand each other, so that the healing process and their forgiveness can begin. It's hard for me to just deal with things myself, and that's a personal issue I think that I do have. I feel like I have to kind of talk to people almost like a therapist, like, and maybe honestly, maybe that's what I need. I'm that's probably what I do need. But that's why I'm trying to pull more information from my mom so that I can understand, so that I can work on that forgiveness part.
Okay. And as a follow-up, right? So you haven't forgiven him, right? Mm-hmm. So what have you done as far as your resiliency, your mental piece? Have you been through therapy? Have you gone through counseling? How have you dealt with this to the point where you actually on this show having a conversation with us is what I'm asking.
Shows like this, this is not the first time that I've had the opportunity to open up, about it. I spoke on generational trauma on another podcast. And so me having my own podcast and being able just to use my voice and talk about it now, I think that's just going to force more conversations to happen. And maybe somebody in my family might see this and might actually say, okay, well, Sabrena, she's really still hurting about this. Let's really sit down and talk to her about it. Maybe they don't know, but I know I've expressed it, but maybe they don't really understand that I really just want us to come together as a family, talk about it so that we can all heal from it.
I appreciate that. And I would say just keep trying. You know what I'm saying? You just keep trying. I think that's important. You want to keep on trying because you never know. But here, I do want to ask this question here. It says, so how do you help someone who confides in you about this, but doesn't want their secret shared? So do you hold on, right? Do you hold it or tell so others won't be harmed? Okay. So how do you do that?
Well, I mean, just like we're doing now, it's my story too. If your story involves other people, that's just what it is. It's hard for me to share my story without sharing other people's story as well. But I'm not going to hold back. They're just going to have to forgive me, or we're just going to have to talk about it. Let's work this out. It's time to talk about it, obviously. So I think that just forces that conversation, that needs to be had. And maybe somebody else wants to talk about it, but they're afraid. And here it is. It's time to just put it on the platform and let's just get it out there.
Wow. What you got, Nate? I see you finally back on. You got your internet situated?
Man, I don't know what's going on, brother. Maybe my internet got some secrets. I don't know. But hey, no, I don't know if this already been asked. My question was that have you stopped living because you went through these unfortunate circumstances? And part two to that, have you sought counseling for yourself, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh yeah, she answered that, but go ahead. I'll let you hit it again.
No, not yet. I mean, like I was just saying, like topics like this, being on this podcast, being on other platforms, this is, for me, I look at it for some people as therapy, because not everyone can afford therapy. And that's just where a lot of people are. So just being able to talk about it with any listening ear is comforting. It's comforting. And so until my family are willing to be that listening ear, I think that I'll always have questions, and I always wonder in the back of my head, why?
Go ahead, bro.
So the question I got for you: do you have children? I didn't know if we captured
I
that.
don't.
No.
I
Okay.
don't have.
So if you were to have children, or you got God's kids, or anything of that nature, do you find would you find yourself saying things whereas you kind of give them a pre-brief before they go over someone's house, and like,
Yes,
hey, here's some
definitely.
things that you need to be aware of. This is not cool. If somebody say, this is our little secret, no, that's not our little secret. Because I find in my family with my children, we have these conversations when I allow my kids to go over. I don't care if it's family members' houses, friends' houses, whatever. We have those pre-brief conversations like, yo, this is, if someone tells you this is our secret, this is between us, and they want to touch your private areas, you better tell me. You better wholeheartedly come have that conversation with me. And then when they come back home, we kind of just, I know, hey, did someone actually come out and touch you? But I'll ask, hey, is there anything going on? Is there something you want to talk to me about? I watch their actions too. So do you think, as far as whether you have children or if there's some God's kids or your nieces and nephews, do you find yourself like asking those kind of questions? Being overprotective? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm an overprotective auntie. Like all my nieces and nephews know it. Like I'm super overprotective with them, even down to the type of music that they listen to. Like and like I'm not a mom yet, but like with my nieces, they're twins. I have those conversations with them. And sometimes my sister's like, "Oh, you're going just a little too deep." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Because it happens. They need to know as little girls, Uncle Willie is not supposed to touch you. Even your father, I tell them your father is not supposed to touch, even your mom, like nobody is supposed to touch you in any type of way that makes you uncomfortable. And so I think my nieces get it because I really drill it into them. And then as far as my nephews, they're a little harder to talk to. So I kind of leave that up to their uncles and their fathers for that conversation. But definitely with my nieces, I'm making a mission to talk to them about it. Definitely.
You know what? You're absolutely right, and I'm glad you do. Right? Have to have these conversations with my daughter as well, and not necessarily, scare them. It's not like scare straight, like, look, they coming to get you. It's not like that, right? But it's real talk, and then also too for the young men, and I have to be completely honest, like, being younger, you would love the fact of seeing Miss Parker. Knowing Miss Parker, you ain't nothing but like 13 and 12, and here she is 40 something. Like it's still out of line. You get what I'm saying? And it damages. I forget who it was that said they were in a situation like that. I think it was D.L. Hughley or something like that, or a comedian, somebody. But they expressed that, hey, there was an older woman, right, was coming at me, and it had to take my mother to say, hey, you need to get out my son's face, type of thing. You get what I mean? So we got to make sure that we're having those conversations on both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying? Because these is some women out here that's out of line, and even within the family household. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, Nate. You was about to say something, bro. Go ahead.
I just got to say, this is very important, right? We have to break those generational curses, right? Those are the number one things that plague, each of the household, whether it may be, a father's not circumstances, uneventful circumstances such as these, that we're talking about to this day. I pride you on the fact that, you're willing to have those conversations and you're willing to be open. And, to be honest with you, it is never too early, right? I don't care what anyone says. It is never too early to, have these conversations, to get, young children involved and to continue to educate him or her to make sure that they have the tools that they need to be, ready for life, because it's not easy, right? The life is not easy. Life is hard. You got to think of all the stigmas that come with that, peer pressure, all those things. So I'm grateful of the fact that, you are taking that leap to have those conversations.
Yeah. Well, it's like, platforms like this. I appreciate you guys for, allowing me to, share my voice. And so it's just real appreciative on my end as well. Hopefully somebody hears this, and, if it encourages somebody to step up and to speak up if they know that something's going wrong with them, whether it's a family member, a teacher, a friend, a neighbor, a sibling. Definitely don't be afraid to speak up, and you're not doing the wrong thing. You're supposed to speak up. And it's just, I think it's harder for children to speak up if their parents aren't involved or asking questions. I think that's important. I'm not a parent yet, but I do understand, what it takes to be a parent. So I pride you guys, because you guys are always talking about how you guys are active and you're involved in your children's life and you're asking those questions. And I think that's highly important.
Yeah, and so a question I got for you too is, outside of the podcast platform, are you utilizing other organizations, like Big Brother, Big Sister, the foster care system, other platforms that allow you to be an advocate to those children that are affected by something like this? Do you find yourself being an advocate and saying, "Hey, I've been through this. Here's what I know. I know how you feeling. Here's what I would do if I were in your shoes." Do you find yourself being a mentor to other young kids that have been going through something like this, is what I'm asking?
I definitely can see myself doing that. I haven't dove into that yet. But I have thought about things like that, especially, with me being bilingual. I definitely want to be a voice for the Black and the Brown community. So I definitely have thought about that, and that is the path that I'm taking, especially being the founder of the Women with Purpose Tour. That's part of what the platform is for. It's not only just for us women entrepreneurs to share our journey, but also our testimonies, and personal testimonies as well. So I'm definitely building a platform for it, and I definitely will see myself getting involved in community outreach and things like that, so that I can be a voice and help other children as well.
Absolutely. And that's a great question, Larry. And also too, I would encourage you too to not just get that type of help to find out, or not get the help to find out, get the help to heal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think it's important, because what happens is we can hold on to old bricks from an old house trying to build a new one. You dig what I'm saying? And that's an oxymoron. That doesn't happen. You the same old crib. You know what I'm saying? But in order to build something new, you have to do something different. And the crazy part is, it's not easy. It's hard. It's necessary. And there may be some things, just like you hit on, that you might not have known that was out of line, but until you start digging, like, wait a minute, this happened too. You get what I'm saying? You have to be ready for that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess the question is, are you ready to take that step? And if you are, what would be your first step?
Yeah, I'm ready to take that first step, or the steps. I think my first step would be to find a way to communicate with my mom. I think that's the first person I probably would need to continue to try to maybe take baby steps with, and kind of talk to her about it. Maybe a different approach I need to take, and I'm sure she's still traumatized as well. I mean, because for it to happen to her, and then for her to bring us around him, there still had to be some type of trauma going on for anyone to allow that, to not allow it to happen, but to bring your children in an environment where something happened to you, and now it's possibly could happen to your children as well. So there has to be some type of trauma that she's still dealing with. So I have to understand that, and maybe that's why it's taken her a while to speak about it. So
okay, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, Nate. So here you go.
Do you ever?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if speaking, in the time, do you think that time will ever come? And if not, right, do you think that you may have to take a more assertive approach, to starting that conversation for it in order to happen?
Oh, that's a good question, because you're right. Like, what happens if that time never comes? So I think, the approach to take would be the advocacy, just like you guys just mentioned, being able to help other children, heal through their trauma, being a voice for the community. That would be the more approach that I would need to take, especially if like my family may not still not want to talk about it. So I can't force them to talk about it. I can't force my mom to have these conversations. But once it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, she just really just doesn't want to deal with it. That approach would be just getting out in the community and being a voice.
Love it.
Yep. Okay. Hey, Sabrena, I want to touch on this, right? Is this what I'm reading? This subject? Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is a question from one of our audience members. It says, this subject applies to health secrets as well. Mm-hmm. When I went through my breast cancer a few years ago, I went in for genetics testing, and the questionnaire asked about my family medical history. A lot of the questions I couldn't answer pertaining to my cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. This was disturbing and disheartening, especially because of the significance of the situation. We must do better as a community. So what are your thoughts on that as far as knowing the family history and being able to answer some of these questions about genetics when you're going through something as far as cancer?
I think that's very important. I kind of went through that too, not cancer or anything, but as far as like not knowing who I was culturally or genetically, because like my mom and my biological father separated when I was like 3. So I really didn't remember who he was growing up, right? So by the time my mom met my sister's dad, I grew up thinking he was my father. Like I did not know that he wasn't my biological father, and that my biological father was a Nigerian man from Nigeria. He came here from the States. I didn't know my culture. I didn't know anything about me until I was about 13 years old. And one of my aunts, out of spite, because I did something, I forget what I did, she was just like, that's why Robert Jr. isn't your daddy anyway. And that's when I started asking questions like,
bitch,
who is my father?
Wait a minute. So look, it took somebody to have an attitude to say, that's why they ain't your daddy. What?
Yes.
Ain't that horrible?
Yes, that's what happened. I remember I was 12 or 13 years old. 13, I believe. But yes, my aunt got mad at me because I did something to her son or something. And it's like, yeah, that's why Robert Jr. isn't your daddy anyway. So then I started asking my mom, well, who is my dad? What is going on here? And so that's when I found out at 13, I'm half Nigerian. My father, he's from Nigeria. He came to the States at 14, made a lucrative career for himself here as a pilot. And I was like, dang, Mom, because my dad is very successful. And I'm like, we grew up kind of poor. You didn't think to ship me off to my daddy.
Right. What?
But that was another identity crisis I had as a teenager, so that with the whole grandfather situation, being a teenager, that's part of the reason why. I'm not gonna lie, I was an angry teenager. I just,
yeah,
a lot going on.
I see. And I'm sorry, all this, you had a lot of secrets going on. You know what I mean? It's like you're finding out at the worst time. All right, here's Thanksgiving. By the way, that's horrible. It's crazy too, because Larry, I know you can attest to this, right? Because we just have family reunions, right? And one of our cousins gave a little speech, and he says this often, but it hit harder. He said, hey, we need to stop not talking about our health, right? He says, like, for our men, go get checked. What time it is. You need to do this. And the women in our family, we have a history of breast issues. You get what I'm saying? So as you see in our young women, right, come up in the family, like, hey, check yourself. Make sure your diet is good. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some things that may be genetics, right? But there's also things that's not, like diabetes. You can tell that, right? You don't have to eat Sunday dinner 7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? To kind of like perpetuate death. Like, Why you putting, why you pressing the gas on dying just because you want to eat good, right? But we're not having that type of conversation about taking care of the health. But then this is the deal. Y'all know how the Soul Food movie was, right? Everybody cried, blah, 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 when Big Mama died. But then after that, they got back to eating the same joint. You get what I'm saying? That helped her to, that caused her to have diabetes. We don't have those type of conversations, and it's jacked up too. Hey, but we love chitlins. Ain't that right, Larry? That's why you muted.
That's right. But it's only once a year, man. So don't try to talk me out of that. It's once a year.
Larry, the only one I know that made chitlin sandwiches. But what you think about that though, as far as the health issues though?
Yeah, I mean, I think the question is correct. Like we need to start asking those questions, about health and understanding our background and being not afraid to getting in front of it. If we know we have diabetes running in our family, the younger generation, we need to start getting in front of our health issues that run in our family. So I think that's very important, just to stay on top of it and be familiar with both sides of your family. That's why it's important to know who you are, where you come from, So I think we all should just start having these conversations more often, force people to have these conversations if we have to,
Yeah.
Start asking more questions, not being afraid.
Mm-hmm. And look here, I'll be real quick. Give my cousin a shout out, Miss Anika, right? And look, she know who I'm talking about, right? Earl. He get on that soapbox, but talking about that health and how important it is. And also, too, Miss Cortez, how you doing? She says, more importantly, our ancestors' way of healing versus pharmaceutical medicines. So, what do you think about that?
Definitely should be jumping on more natural home remedies, holistic ways. I'm all with her on that. I'm the one. I hate taking Tylenol. I will sit and battle out a headache because I really don't want to, put that medicine in my body or any of it. So I think that's very important to really understand more natural ways of healing, eating healthier, finding out which products and which foods, are a benefit to our body. Versus not. So I think that's very important. I see her saying herbal medicine. Yep. That's very important.
Yeah. Oh, Vic, Nate. Oh, you there? Oh, look.
Yeah, I think Larry messing with my controls over here. No, I was looking at Miss Cortez's statement, right? That's very true. Understanding your family makes plays, into your body, right, and making sure that we find those natural medicines, and be able to detect that early on. This is we talk about health, we talk about mental, all this play factor, right? Health, mental, spiritual, physical. All of your emotions, plays a role in that process. And to go back to your earlier statement, I think that sometimes, like I said, just to touch on the piece earlier, that denial stage is real, right? The embarrassment stage is real. Yeah. The toxicity that comes with that, people don't want to relive that. Sure, there's been some moments, within your family or other that are out there where PTSD has, toll, on, those families as a whole. And that's one of the most critical pieces ever, is that PTSD, because most families, they don't want to relive that, and I think that's one of the toughest things that, a family could ever experience and or have to go through and relive those moments. And in the back of their mind, they damn well that your prompt ability to communicate that they know. Yeah. So it's more of a statement, not a question.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, that makes sense, man, because you're absolutely right. Going back, I'm gonna get you, Larry. But one thing we didn't talk about, and I know we talked about, behind the stage of this right here. mental health leads to physical body breakdown. We don't talk about that, right? And look, like Anika says, that PTSD is definitely holding a lot of us, a lot of things back. And that's the deal. We know that some family individuals, not family, we know that there's a few screws that's not loose, you know what I'm saying, or that are loose, and we don't really talk about it. But the thing is, there's chemical, a lot of times it's chemical imbalances. You know, one thing that I've heard a lot, and maybe y'all can touch on this, or maybe we don't have to, but I've heard in different families, maybe it's just a coinky dink, oh, well, you know what happened to Uncle so and so, somebody put something in his drink when he wasn't looking. Come on, man. Okay, listen, not saying that that's did not happen. You dig what I'm saying? But the thing is how are we helping Uncle so and so? You see what I'm saying? We talking about why he out of line, but we're not helping him as a family to get back in line. But I'm gonna land right there. Go ahead, Larry. My fault.
Yeah. So Sabrena, I kind of want to end on this note right here for you, which is why I brought up: are you advocate to be an advocate, right, for these other organizations outside of the podcast platform? So Big Brother, Big Sister, the foster care system, and whatever other organizations out there that's looking for someone of your voice, your caliber, that can share your experience to help some of these younger folks express how they feel going through those situations. You seem to be pretty strong, right? You said at 12 this happened and immediately you reported it. I don't know where you got that from. I don't know if that was instilled in you up until 12, whatever it was, but obviously you come off like, even without therapy, you are pretty confident in who you are, and you didn't let this deteriorate you and bring you down. But there are some folks out here where they go through that same situation you went through, and they hooked on drugs. You know, they're hyper sexually active for whatever reason, and their mentality isn't the same as you. So the question I'm asking you is to consider being an advocate, because you're such a strong woman. I can sense that just by this show, to be a voice for those that don't have that strength that you have. Because I'm a firm believer, everything in life happens for a reason, even if as messed up as it is. And I know some folks are opposed to that, but I just think God don't put you in situations you can't handle. And that's not trying to get all religious. But you went through this situation. It happened. It seemed like it helped you grow. Unfortunately, I hate that it was this situation that helped you grow. But what do you think about seriously taking that baton that's been passed on to you in this unfortunate situation and being a voice for those that is not as strong as you?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely going to take it seriously. Like I said, the platform that I'm building for myself and other people and other women, that's the platform that I'm going to start with. It's not just for women. We have youth involved as well. So we do have two podcast entrepreneurs who are 12-year-old girls on the tour as well with us. And so it just starts with bringing on younger voices as well. I think kids talk to other kids. So maybe if they see a face that's familiar to them, maybe they won't be afraid to speak to, the ladies that are involved in my organization. So I think it just starts with me continuing to put together my own organization and implementing it inside of that organization that I'm building. So it's definitely coming. And hopefully by the end of the year, next year, then something like that will definitely be in play.
You know what? I encourage that, and congratulations with that. You know what? Yeah, damn right. Because real talk, this is what we're talking about. It's more than just the hurt, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the healing piece, right? Because the hurt is already there. That has happened. But the thing is, we want to find the best way to grow through that and help individuals along the way. Big Nate, find a word, bro.
Yeah, me, I always got a quote, when it comes to these segments. And I'm using Albert Einstein when he said, I solve problems with the same level of thinking we used when we created them. And I think that this is a perfect segment moving forward. And thank you for being, in order for, especially for our young generation, right? Mm-hmm. In order, today to lead tomorrow, they go through things like this, and it hurts me so much that, we don't know what goes through the of our, future leaders, right? We have these young adolescents going to school. And as I stated before, they have so much that's going on in their heads and not even thinking about these family secrets or anything like that. That's also playing an additional factor in walking the day-to-day life. So I appreciate everything that you stand for, everything that you continue to be that beacon of light is all that I have to say. So thank you so much.
Right on. Go ahead, Big Larry.
Yeah, so Miss Sabrena, I truly appreciate.
You went on. You muted again by mistake. Nope. Yo, internet. Yeah. All right. Listen. All right. So here, check this out. Before. Yeah, we got you. Go ahead.
All right. So what I wanted to say, Miss Sabrena, is I appreciate you coming onto the show and being as transparent as you are. These are real life conversations that we need to have on a regular, not just on the podcast, but within our families. One of the things I really want to harp on is, we look at our youth and we see some of the things that they're doing, whether it's on the news channel or just in our daily reactions. And we like, wow, why are you like this? And we don't really get into the deep root cause of what causes this. And it could be something that's your situation where they're just angry and they don't know how they don't have an outlet to really get this out because nobody either believes them or understands them. So that's why when I talk to you about being an advocate, I'm telling you, I think that is your calling. And I really hope you take what I'm saying and pursue that because you can probably peel back some of those onions and really save somebody's life out here, or at least keep them out of jail. Mental health is a big deal. And some of that mental health is not just genetic. Some of that is physical, just growing up at 3 and not understanding what the hell just happened to me. And now I don't understand why I'm like this. So thank you for coming on to the show, being transparent. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I just look forward to seeing your great work from you coming on. Okay.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You as well. Thank you.
All right, y'all. So listen, I know we just because Nate got the he got the old Obama rotary type of internet. Okay, y'all missed the quote. So the quote was this: "We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that we used when we created them." Okay, and that's by Albert Einstein. So, but look, Miss Sabrena, we got 1 minute, and I'm about to do this for you. Okay, this is about to be the Black Collar Corner. All right. So this is a part of the book, right? The Black Collar Mindset book, where a chapter called Never Stop. All right. And then what I have in there is that you must do what's right no matter who's looking. So how do you plan on continuously doing that in your life? And what would you tell individuals that's watching and listening right now about never stopping?
One thing I live by is just using my voice and not being afraid to use it, regardless of what's coming out. It's okay to it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have feelings. We're human, right? So just use your voice, let it out. If you need to get on a rooftop and go scream, whatever the case may be, just let your voice be heard. If you have to write something down, if you need to write a letter to somebody, you may not know how to use your voice verbally, write it down, send it to them. Whatever the case may be, just let your voice be heard and just continue to stand behind who you are.
Show you right. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, look, I don't know what else to say. This is it. Look, Sabrena, I want to thank you seriously for being on behalf of me. And look, and also too, ladies and gentlemen, we got Herm. He was out today. He's sick right now. So y'all just put him in your prayers real smooth, right? He's probably out of line, drinking too much of that Jack. Need to be on that Uncle Nearest. Y'all know what it is. But anyway, the thing is that this is a real conversation. Sabrena, we would love for you to come back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Right? Because look, we got some things to do. We got individuals to affect and really get in front of this microphone. That's what we do in the Lions Den and other content creators, right? We connect but then we make things happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make sure y'all have yourself a great, outstanding weekend. This has been the Lion's Den. This is what we do. Y'all take it easy. Later.